Are The Sims 4's build and buy mode really as good as everyone says? And how much has the game truly evolved since The Sims 2? Today I'm taking an in-depth look at The Sims 2, 3, and 4 build and buy mode. Who will come out on top? I think the answer might surprise you. The Sims 2 had around 360 different objects available in the base game. Now these aren't all the objects here, but they're as many as I could get onto this lot. And also I did count these manually by hand, so give or take a few. I might have made a mistake, but it was around 360 different items. And you can kind of see here the art style for The Sims 2. I really love the way the objects looked in The Sims 2, and I still use many of these in my game today. Of course, we have lots of recolors now available, texture replacements and things like that to make the furniture look even more modern. Although 360 items isn't as many as we got in the subsequent games, compared to Sims 1, it felt like a lot. But there were a few things missing that you might expect. First of all, there were no rugs in the Sims 2 base game. I'm not sure which expansion or stuff pack introduced rugs, but they were definitely not in the base game. There were also no cars in the Sims 2 base game. We did not get ownable drivable cars until the nightlife expansion, although there were car pools, so a car did come and pick up your sim for work. In The Sims 2, the only instrument available was the very expensive piano. Unfortunately, there weren't separate skills for guitar and piano and violin. There was only one overall creativity skill, and this covered music and art. So your sim could either paint at the easel or play the piano to get that creativity skill up, which sometimes felt a little unrealistic if you had a sim who had been practicing the piano their whole life, got their skill up really high, and then suddenly they could paint the Mona Lisa. But in The Sims 2, creativity is creativity. A personal pet peeve of mine is that we did not get toilet paper rolls in The Sims 2, not in the base game or any future expansion or stuff pack. I always have to download a custom content toilet paper roll, because come on, it's a necessity. And in The Sims 3 and 4, we did get toilet paper rolls in the base game. So I know that sounds like a nitpicky, insignificant thing, but it's just something that I noticed because I like to put toilet paper in all my bathrooms. And finally, there were no upper cabinets in The Sims 2. You could only put these lower cabinets into your kitchens. There were never any upper cabinets released for the game. In order to have them in your game, you would have to download custom content versions. Build mode was very simple to use. You could sort by function or you could sort by room, which I almost never use the sort by room in The Sims 2. It's just so much easier to sort by function. And we also had collections, which are groups of similar types of items, and this makes it a lot easier to find things in the game. For example, the base game came with a modern collection and a colonial collection. This was nice for decorating if you wanted to keep to a certain theme in a house or a room. The Sims 3 base game came with around 470 different objects. Of course, I didn't put everything out here, but I put a lot of the objects so you can kind of see the art style of The Sims 3. I think The Sims 3 is the most beautiful game out of the three. I love the art style. I love the scenery. I can't say I think the Sims themselves are the most beautiful, but at least the environment is nice. Buy mode in The Sims 3 was very easy to use, and it was the first game that introduced this sort of picture selection menu. You could sort by room here, and I found this to be very helpful. If you were working on a bathroom, you could just click bathroom, click toilet, and then you could find what you were looking for very easily. You could also sort by function, which is sometimes helpful if you're looking for a specific item. And unfortunately, we did not have collections in The Sims 3 base game. Those were added later on. I think the catalog was so well organized, especially with the base game when you didn't have that many items, that collections weren't really that necessary. The Sims 3 had everything and more in the base game, except for one thing: wedding arches. That's right, they didn't put wedding arches in the base game, and in fact, we didn't get wedding arches until the Generations expansion. But it has everything else that The Sims 2 had, plus rugs, plus the best thing of all, cars. The Sims 3 had cars, drivable, ownable cars in the base game, as well as bicycles. Now, it's an open world, so of course you're gonna need cars, but I mean, honestly, they could have totally cheaped out and just made you take carpools and taxis. If they were making The Sims 3 right now, I could totally see them doing that. But we were so lucky that the team working on The Sims 3 made this happen, and we got drivable, ownable cars in the base game. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 cars, you had quite a selection here. 10 different cars ranging in price from 950 simoleons to 105,000 for your super wealthy Sims. We also had a parking spot and a garage door, and for our bicycles, we had 2 different ones to choose from and a bike rack. Another really cool feature of The Sims 3 that is personally one of my favorite things about the game is that if you place one of these parking spots on a community lot, when your Sim arrives there, they will park in the parking spot instead of just stopping on the street like they did in The Sims 2. And you will also see townies and other playable Sims that go to the community lots park in the parking spaces. It adds so much realism and just helps make the game feel more alive. Now, they did cheap out a little bit on the animations. Your Sims no longer go up to the car, open the door, get inside, and back out. Instead, they just sort of teleport into the car, and then when they get out, they teleport out. Now, I would personally rather have that animation, but it's easy to overlook whenever we have the open world and we have the realism of them parking in the parking places. So it's not a deal breaker for me personally. I don't mind suspending belief a little bit in the Sims games, especially when it comes to something like this. I would rather have cars without the extra animation than no cars at all. Another great thing about the Sims 3 build mode is basically quarter tile placement was on without cheats. So in The Sims 2, in order to place things on quarter tile like this, you would have to type in a very long cheat, but now you could place things in between the squares like so. And this was really nice for centering TVs and couches and things like that. It's just a little thing that I really appreciate. Another amazing feature of the Sims 3 build mode is the ability to move objects easily off grid. So unlike The Sims 2 where you had to type in a clunky cheat and then turn it off when you were done, in The Sims 3 you can grab any object and hold down the Alt key and move it off grid easily. So I'm holding down Alt, and then if I want it to snap to grid again, I just let go of the Alt key and it snaps right back. The Sims 3 also gave us the ability to filter content for the first time. So now I can filter by custom content, store content, Sims 3 base game, and then when you get expansion packs and stuff packs, you can also sort by those items. And for example, if you just wanted to do a base game build, you could just filter by base game content and use only the base game stuff. Or if you want to do a build for a specific expansion pack, or if you were just looking for something from a specific expansion or stuff pack, you could now filter that out. But I have saved the best for last, and I think you guys know where I'm going with this. In The Sims 3, we had a new feature called Create a Style. And if you clicked on Create a Style and then clicked on Objects, you would have unlimited possibilities to recolor this object right in the game. You're basically creating your own recolors on the spot. If you're not familiar with The Sims 3 and you've heard people talk about the color wheel, this is it. And this is why people were so upset about losing it in The Sims 4, because it is an amazing feature. So now I can choose any pattern that I like for my bedding here. I can change the color on an actual wheel. I can also choose from some pre-made color swatches. I can even put in a hex code to change the color so you can get it exactly how you want it. You can change your wood colors and your wood type. No more mismatched wood and mismatched furniture. You could match everything together if you're a matchy-matchy person like I am. Now you can make all of your houses, all of your rooms look exactly how you want them to. You can use this color wheel on things like siding for your house, fences, windows, doors, stairs. Almost anything in the game can be recolored, even things like appliances, and you can choose the different metal that you want your appliance to be and the color of it. I mean, the customization is just out of this world. You can do anything you want. And after you've been playing with it for a while, it's kind of hard to play without it. We will also see the color wheel make an appearance when we get to Create a Sim. The Sims 4 gave us far more items in buy mode than any other game. In fact, I counted these manually and I counted more than 1,100 different objects. And that is insane compared to the 350-ish in The Sims 2 and the 470-ish in The Sims 3. And I'm scrolling down, this is all base game stuff that you're seeing here. Lots of different decor items, rugs, wall hangings, just all kinds of stuff. There's the toilet paper roll. So this was very nice. They really hooked us up with the items. Buy mode, once again, we have the picture menu, so it's really easy to use. I love, love, love the the counters, my only complaint with the counters is there are not enough of them. And we have so many different options for the counters. You can do the small counter that goes above the refrigerator. You can do corner cabinets going either way. So you could build cabinets like around the side of the room if you wanted to, like this. You could really just go crazy with the cabinets. You can also do like a full-size cabinet, and you can really make some nice kitchens even with just these base game tools. I'm not going to try to pull out all the objects and show them to you. It's just way too many. But I feel like I really like the look of the objects in The Sims 4. I really feel that the game is pretty but shallow. It's kind of like that girl who used to bully you in high school and now she sells weight loss MLM teas on Facebook. But I am trying to be fair here and give the game credit where it's due. It is a pretty game. I like the art style. I like the way the objects look. I'm not crazy about the terrain. I don't know. There's something about the terrain that it just looks almost too... It just doesn't look detailed enough or something, especially after coming from The Sims 3 when the terrain is so gorgeous, even just with the regular base game. So if I was going to play The Sims 4 seriously, I might try to find some terrain replacements if they exist. But other than that, I really do like the style of the game. Now, of course, in The Sims 4, we don't have a color wheel, and that is very disappointing. Instead, we just have several swatches, whatever EA decides to give us for these options, and a lot of the things don't match each other. The furnitures don't match, the woods don't match, so you end up you're stuck with a bunch of mismatched objects, and that's really too bad. The Sims 2 was like that as well, though. I'm not saying this is strictly a Sims 4 problem, because The Sims 2 had the same problem where none of the woods matched and you just had a bunch of mismatched stuff. And there are some things that match, but others don't. There aren't very many swatches for the base game cabinets at all, and the ones they do have are like really weird. Like, who has this fuchsia colored cabinet in their house? I don't know. I would want more like plain colored things, like more neutral things. I don't want a pink refrigerator. I would rather have like a stainless steel. But I do have to say the buy mode is easy to use. There are tons of objects and everything is really pretty. Now, we are missing some things from buy mode, of course, in the base game. Number one that comes to mind is cars. We did not have cars in the base game, and we still 6 years later do not have cars today. Some people say, oh, well, you don't need cars because there's not an open world, so cars are pointless. But I would have to disagree with those people, because we had cars in The Sims 2, and I really loved being able to send my sim to the store in the car and watch them pull out of the driveway and drive down the streets. That was just really neat, and I wish that we would get that ability back. I hope that EA does bring that back in the future. The base game was also missing pools whenever it was first released, but those were later patched in, so anybody who has the base game now will have the ability to create swimming pools. And finally, the most famous missing item, which is not technically part of build mode, is kind of part of Create a Sim, but I'm still going to talk about it, is toddlers. So whenever the game was first released, there were no toddlers. They just completely left out this life stage, which upset a lot of people, and it took like almost 2 years, I think, before they patched toddlers in. But thankfully, anybody who has the base game now will also have toddlers and a limited amount of toddler items. There is a toddler bed. There are a couple toddler beds. There's actually like 3 toddler beds. Wow, I didn't think there were that many. There's some high chairs, potty chairs, toys and things. So yeah, you do get all this for free with the base game, so that's nice. Another one of my favorite features in the Sims 4 buy mode is the ability to resize objects. For example, if you have a painting and it looks too small on the wall, you would like for it to be bigger, you can just hold down the shift key and hit the bracket keys on your keyboard, and this will make it larger or smaller. I use this a lot for paintings, and they actually look really nice even when scaled up 1 or 2 times. In addition to paintings, you can use this for sculptures, making them larger or smaller to fit in different areas of your home. You can pretty much use it for anything in buy mode, including things like curtains and shades. And you can even resize TVs, making them larger to fit on different surfaces. Although if you make them too large, it will degrade the quality of the picture. This is one of those features that once I go back to playing The Sims 3 and The Sims 2, I'm always trying to resize objects, realizing I can't and getting disappointed. Next up is build mode. The Sims 2 definitely had the most limited build mode of all three of the games, simply because it's the earliest game. So we didn't have the ability to drag and drop walls as you could in later games. If you messed up, you basically just had to delete and start over. For example, if I wanted to make this building 3 tiles wider over here or move it over 3 tiles, I would have to build out, delete, and then delete this and move it in 3 tiles. So everything was very manual. And you really had to be careful with planning out your builds. I even go to the lengths of counting out the squares and trying to make sure that I'm centered. We had half walls, doors, and windows. Now we didn't have multi-story doors or arches in the base game, but we did have multi-story windows, and you can see these windows on some of the community lots in Pleasant View. We had staircases and modular stairs. I don't particularly love the staircases and prefer to use modular stairs, but they were here if you wanted to use them. We had a garden center, which just included plants, trees, and bushes. There was no actual gardening in the base game. And of course, we had the handy dandy auto roof tool. It's always there for you like an old friend. Now, the thing about the auto roof tool is it could give you some very strange results, especially if you had a strangely shaped house. Who knows what you might end up with auto roof. Now, that's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it can get quite weird on you if you start playing around with this. But if you don't care about the aesthetics of your roof and you just want something to cover your Sims' heads, auto roof is there for you. See, here's an example of a weird shape that it did. We could also change roof patterns, and whenever the base game came out, you could not choose the roof angle. Later, there was a cheat that was available, and then eventually we got this option to actually choose the roof angle, but that was not an option when the base game was released. We also had swimming pools in the base game. You could even do curved pools if you wanted, but it's definitely the most basic out of any of the build modes that we're going to look at today. The Sims 3 build mode gave us some big improvements over The Sims 2. First of all, we had this picture selection menu, which was very nice and it made things very easy to find. The biggest quality of life improvement to me is the ability to drag and drop your walls. Now, if you needed to move over a piece of the wall, you could just grab it and drag. You no longer had to delete and rebuild like you would in The Sims 2. We still had our good old auto roof tool here, but now we had a new feature that we didn't have in The Sims 2, and that's the ability to control the roof pitch by section. For example, say I want to just increase the height of this roof, but I want to leave this one the same. I could do so with this tool. You can also adjust roof height on a slider, and this adjusts all the roofs. Once again, we had pools in the base game. And we also now had the ability to create fountains with a tool. So you could create a nice square here, and then you could put an actual fountain inside of it, and there were a lot to choose from. And then when you were in live mode, this would actually be animated. You could also do curved fountains if you like, and you could really build some nice, interesting fountains in your community lots or your residential lots. The basement tool was not included with the base game, but was later patched in. Another new feature in The Sims 3 was keyboard shortcuts for build mode. So for example, you could press H to select the hand tool, you could press R to select create a style. Same thing with the eyedropper, you could hit E for the eyedropper, K for the sledgehammer, L to toggle day and night, G for the indoor grid placement on or off. That was just a really nice improvement, and you could get used to playing with those shortcuts. The blueprints were not originally available in the base game. They were later patched in patch 42, I believe, but they were kind of similar to how blueprints work in The Sims 4. If you've ever seen that, you can choose a room and place it down, click preview, and then you can accept it if you like it. You can see. Now, I never even played with this or even really knew it existed. I just one day accidentally clicked on it and I was like, what the heck is that? That's how I found out about blueprints. But like I said, they're not available in the base game. They were not available in the original base game, but since they've been patched in, if you have the base game, now you will be able to use the blueprints. And there's many different rooms. There's kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms, living rooms, and these are nice for people who want to sort of build their own house but don't want to decorate everything. You could just kind of put these rooms together in a way that you like. There's also pools, so if you wanted to put a swimming pool in your house, you could just grab that, place it down, click preview, and there you go. You've got a lovely decorated pool in your backyard and you didn't have to do anything. So I kind of like it for if I'm just looking for something quick to slap down. You got a home gym, a studio. There's lots of stuff you can look at here. You could even put down a hallway if you needed to in between your rooms. So it's really a cool feature. And this was continued in The Sims 4 with the ability to just place down already furnished rooms. Spoiler alert, The Sims 4 clearly wins when it comes to build mode. This is probably the best thing about The Sims 4. The build mode is amazing. There are so many features that allow you to really make awesome houses, even if you don't have that much experience building. So let's take a look at some of these features. First of all, my favorite thing is now when you create a house or a room, you can actually move the entire house. You can move an entire room, or you can even move an entire lot. If you wanted to take all of the landscaping and move it over 3 tiles, now you can. And that is very nice. I no longer have to count the tiles to make sure that I have everything centered. Now I can just move everything around. You can still drag and drop walls, of course, to move them in and out. Another thing that I really love is the ability to add a foundation to a house after you have already built it. So you can just pull up like this and boom, you've got a foundation, and you can make it as high or as low as you want. You can also choose the wall height, short, medium, or tall. And then there are corresponding doors and windows for every wall height. Another thing that I really love are the stairs. Now you can drag stairs to make them longer or shorter, which instead of having to completely delete them and start over. You can also copy stairs, and this is really helpful if you're trying to, maybe you want to add one on each side and you want them to be the same size or something, I don't know, but it's helpful. You can move entire fences. You can just move this over a tile if you want, so you don't have to delete and rebuild. There are no auto roofs in The Sims 4, but to be honest, you don't really need them because roofs are so easy now. You can just push and pull and make them whatever size you want. You can adjust the pitch like this, up and down, just with a drag, just with a click. It's so easy to use. You can also copy roofs, which is very helpful if you're trying to add a dormer on this side and on this side. You can just copy the roof and paste it over. We also now have a roof trim as part of the base game, so you can choose from many different styles of roof trim and colors. There are a lot of colors here, and that just makes your houses look nicer, I think. There's friezes and exterior trims. We also have columns and spandrels and so many different little decor items that you can use on your houses. You can choose a separate stair railing, which is something that you couldn't do in The Sims 2, so you can put any rail on any stairs. You can also bulldoze an entire lot with one click, or you can just bulldoze the terrain if you want. Of course, you can now create swimming pools, and we can also create fountains just like we could in The Sims 3. And now when you create a fountain, you just basically drag it and drop it like you do with many of the other building tools. And we can add a fountain in. And another thing is we now have styled rooms. These are kind of like the blueprints in The Sims 3, but these are completely furnished rooms, and they come in various styles and at different prices, and you could just plop these down to kind of make your own house or add on to a house that you're building if you want. I have tried to build a house with just these rooms before, and it usually doesn't turn out too well. You might have to build some hallways and stuff in between them, but it's an easy way to add a room onto your house if you don't really like to build and decorate and you just need a spare bedroom or something. You can use these. You can also save rooms either from the gallery or that you've built yourself. and plop those down later. The only complaints that I can have with build and buy mode in The Sims 4 are, number one, of course, we don't have a color wheel and the color swatches are very limited and often mismatched. And in build mode, there are very few options for carpet. There are quite a few different tiles and woods and stones and things, but when you get to carpet, you basically have two options, because I'm probably not going to be putting any of these in many of my rooms, and you just have these color swatches, and that's all the carpet that you get. So I don't know why there's so few carpets, but that's the biggest complaint I really have. Another feature I'm going to mention, although this was not available when the base game released, and in fact it was only recently patched in, but now anybody who has the base game today will be able to use this, and that is moving doors and windows off grid. For example, you can take any window and it will snap to the wall like it normally does, or you can hold down the Alt key and you can move it anywhere you want along the wall. So you can make some really unique buildings now that you weren't able to make before, because you can place your windows anywhere. Same thing with doors, and this makes it very helpful for centering one tile doors. You can use it to center two tile doors, or basically move them anywhere you want along the wall. I'm sure you can see the endless possibilities that this opens up for creating unique builds. So those are really neat features. Again, that wasn't part of the original base game, but it is part of the base game now. So here's my final word for The Sims 2, 3, and 4 build and buy modes. As much as I love and adore The Sims 2, I have to give it last place for both build and buy modes, just because the future games added so much more to these areas. The Sims 2 base game had the least number of items and the most restrictive build mode of the three games. The Sims 3 gave us more build mode objects than were found in The Sims 2. We got cars in the base game, a color wheel, the ability to drag and move walls in build mode, keyboard shortcuts, and the ability to easily move objects off grid, and for the first time we could filter items by pack. Although Sims 3 does come in second place for build mode, I am giving it first place for buy mode. Yeah, we didn't have as many individual objects as the Sims 4 base game gave us, but the color wheel made it feel as though you had unlimited recolors. The Sims 4 buy mode gave us over 1,000 new objects, which is just insane when you consider the number that came with the previous games, and build mode is just fantastic. So of course I'm going to give The Sims 4 first place for build mode, but I am giving it second place for buy mode, and that's due to lack of a color wheel and the limited mismatched swatches, which even the 1,000 objects cannot make up for, in my opinion. Just to recap, my final rankings are for buy mode, first place is Sims 3, second place is Sims 4, and last place, unfortunately, is Sims 2. For build mode, Sims 4 takes first place, followed by Sims 3, and once again, Sims 2 comes last. And if you're a Sims 2 fan, like I am, don't be too disappointed, because although The Sims 2 didn't win today, it did win almost all of the gameplay categories in the first part of this series, so go check that out if you haven't already. So what do you think? Do you agree with my rankings for these games? I would love to hear how you would rank build and buy mode among the three different games, so leave a comment down below and let me know. My name is Cindy, and I'll see you with part 3 of this series very soon, where I'll be covering careers and create a sim in the 3 base games. Thank you so much for watching.